You know, when we talk about freedom, our minds usually jump to external stuff, right? Like having more time, more money, more choices. But what if the most fundamental freedom we have is something we rarely even talk about? An internal freedom that changes everything. Today, that's exactly what we're going to explore. A powerful concept called cognitive freedom.
So to get started, we really need to look at this strange contradiction that a lot of us experience. I like to think of it as the freedom paradox, and I bet it's something you'll find surprisingly familiar.
So on one hand, we can have all the supposed ingredients for freedom. We've got the time, we've got enough money, we've got this endless buffet of choices. And yet, on the other hand, so many of us still feel, well, anxious, limited, internally constrained. So what gives? Why is it that having all the conditions for freedom doesn't guarantee the feeling of being free? I mean, have you ever felt that way?
Well, the answer this slide proposes is pretty fascinating. The core idea here is that maybe we've been looking in the wrong place this whole time. Real freedom isn't actually about our external world at all. It's about our internal one. It's a state of perception. Okay, so if freedom is all about perception, then we've got to understand the thing doing the perceiving, right? Our own minds. This means we need to dive into how our minds work by default, this idea of the automatic mind, and see how it literally builds the reality we experience.
And here's the crucial point. We don't experience events directly. There's always a layer between what happens and our experience of it. And that layer is our mind's automatic interpretation. It happens so incredibly fast, we don't even notice it's there. It's kind of like wearing a pair of glasses for so long, you've completely forgotten you're looking through them.
Let's just walk through how this works. First, an event happens. Let's say a friend doesn't text you back. Instantly, your mind runs that simple fact through an automatic filter. This filter is made up of your past experiences, your fears, your core beliefs. And that process generates an interpretation, maybe something like, they're mad at me. And then, and this is the key part, you experience that interpretation as if it were solid reality, not just the simple fact of an unanswered text.
You see how this leads to a powerful illusion, right? We feel like we're consciously choosing how we feel and react, but so often we're just running on a pre-written script. We're just following an interpretation that our automatic mind decided for us in a split second.
So, if our automatic mind is the cage, what's the key? Well, this brings us right to the solution. This idea of cognitive freedom.
The whole practice really starts with one simple, but honestly incredibly powerful question. When something happens, instead of just immediately accepting that first automatic interpretation, we just pause and we ask ourselves, do I have to see it this way? Just asking that question, it creates a tiny bit of space.
And that space, that right there, is cognitive freedom. It's not about changing the event, it's about hitting pause on our instant reaction machine. It's the ability to step back and just recognize that our first interpretation isn't the only one out there. It's like realizing you're not just an actor stuck in a play, you're also the director, and you have the power to choose how the scene gets played.
Now, it's really important to be clear about what this isn't. Cognitive freedom isn't about escaping reality or trying to become some kind of robot with no feelings. It's actually the opposite. It's about seeing reality more deeply by being able to see multiple perspectives at once. And it's not about the absence of emotion, but about finding a little bit of breathing room within a strong emotion, so it doesn't have to hijack your entire reality.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how does it actually change things in our day-to-day lives? Let's talk about what this freedom looks like in practice.
So one of the most common ways we experience this is just through understanding. I mean, think about a time you were really confused and anxious about something. The second you found an explanation, a structure that made sense of it all, that anxiety probably dropped, right? This situation itself didn't change, but your framework for seeing it did. That feeling of relief? That's a form of cognitive freedom.
And this applies so powerfully to our relationships. We all want to be perfectly understood by the people we care about. But here's a pretty bold idea to consider. Complete, total understanding between two people is actually impossible. Everyone's internal filters, all their past experiences, their unique beliefs, they're just too different.
So what's the shift here? Well, before, we might chase that impossible goal of complete understanding, and we get frustrated and hurt when it doesn't happen. But with cognitive freedom, we can start to accept that small misunderstandings are just a natural part of human connection. And the result? It's totally liberating. Relationships get so much freer and easier, not because misunderstandings disappear, but because they stop being a catastrophe. They just become bearable.
Finally, and this is maybe the most important takeaway of all, it's crucial to see this not as some destination you finally arrive at, but as a lifelong practice.
So you don't just achieve cognitive freedom and poof, you're done. It really doesn't work like that. Every new experience we have has the potential to make our thinking rigid again, to lock us right back into those automatic reactions. So freedom isn't something you achieve once and for all, it's something you have to constantly restore, moment by moment.
And how do we restore it? Well, we come right back to that simple, humble question. In any moment of frustration or anxiety or even just total certainty, we can just gently ask ourselves, could this be seen differently? The moment we ask, we're already a little bit freer.
And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. Perhaps the most profound freedom that's available to us isn't about having the power to bend the world to our will. It's about having the ability to change our relationship with the world, just as it is. It's the freedom to choose our own interpretation. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Where in your life, right now, could a different interpretation maybe set you free?